Hi, I'm Tori Hagaman. I want to share with you what I believe is one of the most common fears amongst artists, and that is working on a painting, it's going really well, you get it to about 80% and you realize there's something wrong, something that needs to be changed, and you're afraid to touch it again because you're afraid to mess it up. Well, I used to be that artist and thought I had gotten over it until I worked on this painting. I really love this painting. I love everything about it, except every time that I look at it, I'm seeing all this vacant space at the top, and I don't like this tabletop color. And I have had this painting over to the side for a while now, and I finally had to get honest with myself, and I realized I was afraid to rework it. I was so afraid because I like it so much that I was going to mess it up. So rather than having this painting at 100%, I stopped short at 80%, and I just thought, you know, I don't want to put my name on something that's not as good as it could be, is not as good as it should be. And I think anytime as artists, when we are unwilling to try something, we're unwilling to rework something, it's like putting a ceiling over our heads. There is a limit to how good of an artist you can become, and I think a big part of that is to what degree are you willing to take risks, are you willing to try something new. So what if it does mess it up? Worst case scenario, you have learned something new and probably you can rework it. So I'm going to try to get my courage on with this, and I'd love to show you the before and after, what a difference it makes. I'm very hopeful that this is going to improve this painting considerably, and that hopefully I'm going to feel like it was worth the extra effort. So if you'd like to see what happens with this, I invite you to come along. The first thing I decided to do was add a big leaf at the top of that arrangement, and I purposefully put it behind some other little flowers so it would look layered, and I just drew an outline and started painting it in. It was with fear and trembling, but look at what a difference that made. And I love just having those light flowers having something dark in the background. I think that silhouette turned out really nicely. I then took a small angled thin brush and put in a little curved line and just started adding in some spots to it, basically to mimic little foliage. And I did different ferns, little palm looking branches, super easy to put in. I was careful to put some of them at angles going off in different directions. I wanted to keep the composition interesting. I was careful to put things in front of other things so it would look nice and layered. And wow, look how that's filling that in and filling in the top of the canvas. It just helps so much. So I mentioned the other big thing I did not like about this painting was that pink tabletop. So I decided to try making it look like a brown wood tabletop. And I used a transparent brown oxide paint by Rembrandt, thinking that that might let some of the pink shine through. I love having layers of things. I don't like to have just one solid color. I didn't like it. It didn't look like enough. So then I went back over it a second time, making that a little more solid looking. Since I wasn't liking the tabletop, I decided to get my blue and white, ultramarine blue and white, and a large brush, and I was going to add in a cloth on top of that table. And I painted in where the back two corners of the cloth would go, leaving some brown showing. And using that big brush, I just started putting in some strokes of the different values and building up some subtle folds in the fabric. I think it added a lot of interest and some texture to the bottom of the painting. I was using oil paint, so it literally was adding texture. It started getting pretty thick. In fact, I had to scrape off a couple of places and sort of reapply. But I think that added so much interest to the bottom of the painting without taking the painting over. I was just super pleased in what that did. Wow, 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 what a difference this has made. Just adding the ferns, which didn't take that long, adding the tablecloth, which I didn't even see that coming. That wasn't even on my radar. It's funny, I thought this painting was at about 80%, but as I see it reworked, I realized it was really at about 60 and I needed 40% more. But I love how this turned out. I loved experimenting with the tablecloth and using a big brush and getting inspired that way. And that's something that I wouldn't have explored had I not been trying to figure out a way to make this better. And now I'm so intrigued with that. I know this tablecloth isn't fantastic, but it's my first one. And I'm going to explore that some more. I like doing still lifes, and I'm intrigued with lots of folds of fabric. So this has really piqued my interest. And again, it's not something I would have pursued probably had I not been trying to rework this painting. So I really want to encourage you, look at the paintings that you have. They might have been paintings you did a year or two ago, and you're a better artist now. You have a better eye. Look at it, see if you can figure out how to improve it, and go ahead and experiment. If it's been piled up in a corner, it's not doing you any good anyway, go ahead and use it for practice, worst case scenario. But you're probably going to learn something, and it's probably going to improve it significantly. I'm so glad I did this. I absolutely love it now, and I'm so glad you got to come along with me and see this journey. Thanks a lot. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video, I sure would appreciate a thumbs up, and if you'll hit subscribe, you'll be sure not to miss the next free video that's coming out soon. And speaking of free, if you'll check out my website, I have a free video there that you can download, which shows you my very favorite colors. Thanks for watching. God bless.